sock him or something. Give him a good swift kick.
You do know you're live on camera, right?
The quilters will think I need more quilts to quilt, Kathy.
That they're not keeping you busy enough. You're churning them out too fast. I don't think this is good.
I'm thinking a
Correct.
Christmas theme here, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. And how many Christmas quilts do they want?
50.
50. Done.
50.
If he jumped in.
Got a ways to go.
Kathy, she could.
I bet. You set her back years.
Well, I think what I'll do is,
So then you put in these, and then that becomes a point for a
row of, yes.
so you do a little tie in each one.
Aunt Bobbie, can you tell us a nice quilting story from years gone by? Can you tell us a quilting story from years gone by?
A quilting
A
story.
story from the old days.
A quilting story from years gone by.
Did your mother quilt?
Old stories. What haven't I told you?
Did Gladys quilt? Did Gladys?
My mother.
Did she quilt? Did she quilt?
No. She did sew. She made dresses for Nancy and Janet,
She made some nice knickerbockers.
and she knit a lot.
Oh, she knit.
She knit hats and mittens, but no sweaters.
No sweater. Just on Jan.
And the yarn, Kenneth, she had a wire brush, and she'd brush the hats after she made them so they looked like Angora.
Oh.
And it was
I know.
cheap
I've
yarn, but
seen
we
that.
had fancy Angora hats.
That's cool. The
What
farmer's
else do you wanna
Angora.
know? We canned enough vegetables to last a whole year. It didn't matter. One jar might be ketchup, and a lot of string beans, but as long as there was something for every day of the year.
365
There might be
items.
pickles,
We're gonna have ketchup today.
peaches, whatever we had.
And she would store those down in the crawl space, right? In the house?
The root cellar.
The root cellar. Downstairs, the crawl space under the house.
The cellar under the house.
That's where she would put the canned goods.
See, the original house had no cellar. That was part of the original house. Then they put on the L,
Oh.
and that's when they got a cellar. It was a dirt cellar, and it always flooded. And Grandpa had great big beams, and he put planks across the beams so we wouldn't have to walk in the water.
Oh.
Oh boy.
What else do I know about the house?
Because it seems I went down in that crawl space at one point. I remember there was a can. Can.
Wow.
There were cans.
I think I've told you I used to, when I was a little bitty kid,
Oh, I'm sorry.
my dad milked the cows, and I'd have a milk stool. And as he milked the cows, I'd move my milk stool down, and they taught me my nursery rhymes. And there was no electricity then, and there was a lantern we hung
Hurricane
on a
lamp.
nail. And as we walked down the barn, we'd move the lantern to the next nail.
They got electricity in the 30s.
We got electricity in the 30s, I think. They came out to the country. And they also got tar roads then. There was always dirt roads before.
Right, they paved the road.
And I remember going to Pawtucket, the old sleigh. I don't remember going. I remember coming home. It's funny. It was snowing. And I remember saying, it's very cold weather, let's get home. And that's the other time I remember being in the old sleigh.
Going into
But
Providence
there
in the
was a
sleigh.
problem. And we used to take the prom up to
Sled.
Briggs Corner in a storm, and that's where our little store was.
They couldn't afford a
We
car,
could
so
get
they had
bread
the
and
team.
little things.
Your
Uh,
heart quit on you?
uh,
You having
I
to do it
used
all
to
by
have to-
yourself?
have to go get my own.
After
Do you
Walt
need
went
that?
to college, I had to, there's a ladder that reached up to the roof of the barn, you know how tall it
It's
was?
interesting to see how
And I would
this
have
actually
to
happens.
take a pulley up
I never really paid
and
attention.
hitch the pulley with the ropes to something that looked like ice charms around the beams
Wow.
to
That's what I'd have trouble
hoist
doing, is
the,
putting the
it had a
tie
big
to it.
hay fork on it.
Tying
I
it.
The
can't.
big hay fork was,
Your fingers are.
Like
Do you have
this.
arthritis?
and
Yeah.
it would,
No,
It's
pick
just
up
fat.
big loads of hay.
You got these old
And,
fat
uh,
fingers. Old and fat.
Because you hoisted the hay to the top of the barn.
And well, I can remember when I was little, I'd sit on the horse, Walt would walk me down to the house, and the ropes would all pull and up to the barn. Then a hired man in the haymow would pull the fork over to the haymow, pull a rope, and the hay all fell out.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It was labor intensive.
Yeah.
We had to
Sounds
ride
like-
the
Walt
horse.
would walk you. He'd tie the rope on you, and then he'd walk you.
No, she was on the horse.
Oh, on the horse. I
And he
missed
would
being
lead
on
the-
the horse.
he would
Okay,
lead the
good.
horse.
That's what it sounded. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear
Then,
that.
as I say, after Walt was gone, I was on the hay load down in the field, and Daddy would fork the hay into the wagon, and he'd walk along where he wanted the hay placed so it wouldn't slide off. And it was called laying the load.
Wow.
Laying the load.
And when it was up high, we'd drive up to the barn, drive the horse into the barn, unhitch him. And that's when all the other stuff started with the big hay
Raising it
fork.
up.
Right. Trying to find that picture
And
of her.
before all this happened, when it was time to mow the hay, they had a mower the horse pulled, and
Excuse me, just a second. Where'd you put that new coffee maker, Steve?
Right there on the
Oh,
counter.
oh.
In that box.
It's a good thing it's not a snake.
Okay, go ahead, Mom.
this would lay down, and it was all cut the hay as the horse walked along. And after a few days it dried. I couldn't ever run the mower, but I could run the tedder, and the tedder kicked up the hay to dry. And after the hay was good and dry, they had the hay rake come along with the horse and put in big windrows. And that's when they took the horse and wagon down, and he'd go along the windrows and
Wow.
put the hay into the wagon.
Look at that.
Okay, we
Life
got
of
the hay
yesteryear.
in.
It's funny when you think about. I always say she grew up on a 19th century farm in the
We
20th
had
century.
a
Yeah,
kitchen
really.
garden
Yeah.
in front of the house, and Daddy would, I'd help him plant. First off, he'd have to plow it and till it, and get it good and soft. And then he'd make rows, and we'd go down and we'd put so many peas in, and
What, what about when you almost got your toe cut off? Your toe cut off? With the,
oh, I didn't cut my toe off. That was a wheel harrow. The wheel harrow
the big
had
blades?
a lot of round things on it,
Yeah.
and about this big. And it would go down and cut into the soil. And I had my bare foot, and my foot sunk deep enough in that to be cut off, but it cut it to the bone, and I
Ooh.
had to put a Band-Aid on it.
Oh, gosh.
Didn't go to the hospital those days.
No.
And nobody sewed it up.
What about in the carriage shed when you almost got crushed by the carriage?
The what?
The carriage shed and you almost got crushed?
In the what shed?
The carriage shed.
Oh, that was in high school.
Ah.
It was New Year's Eve, and the old, can't remember, it was a heavy car. What's a Buick, I think. It was out in the yard, and it was a snowstorm predicted, and my dad wanted to get it in the wagon shed. So he hitched up old Bill and got the horse to back into the barn with the car, and it was awful heavy for the poor old horse. And he reared. I was handling the horse, and he crushed me between the wall and his rear end.
Gosh.
And I broke my collarbone.
Mm.
And I went, this time he borrowed Aunt Mildred's car and took me to the hospital. But I don't know why there were no doctors on hand. New Year's Eve, you'd think you'd have a spare one, but no doctors. So I had to stay overnight till the doctor could set it in the morning.
Hmm.
And they put a wooden plank across my shoulder and taped me up so...
Ah.
And I had to go to school with this wooden board
you
across my
did?
back.
Ah. Wow.
Yeah.
But I survived.
You survived. There were some rough moments on the farm.
And I've recently written to you about almost being shot, didn't I?
The Christmas tree lot.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that?
No.
Dottie and my mother used to say if Dorothy Waite jumped down the well, you jump after her. Anyway, Dottie and I were always getting in trouble. But this day we were just went for a walk around the farm, and we went over the Christmas tree lot. Do you ever go to the Christmas tree lot?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we went down Perry Hill Road, across the field. We didn't go down to the road that went in. We crossed the
You don't have that
field,
set up
and a
yet?
big ridge, and then the wolf
Where's
barn,
Coffeyville?
You wanna do it?
and
No.
we're out into the
I won't
Christmas tree
complain,
lot.
'cause that's what happens. People say.
And all of a sudden, we were standing by some cedar
"You gotta
trees,
complain, you can do
and a shot rang out.
Yeah.
Well,
And I
you do
swear,
that.
Get it out.
I swear,
Thank you.
I could hear the whiz,
Right where this.
and a whiff of air, right by that ear. And we stepped out around the tree,
You got it from
and there
there?
was a
Yeah,
man with a
hopefully.
gun. I think he
If
was
you need help, let me know.
shocked, and very thankful he hadn't killed us.
Wow.
And I also think he was a Pawtucket policeman, but I'm not sure because the man who owned the farm on that road he didn't live there, but he was a Pawtucket policeman. His sister lived there, and he had a hired family that lived there to take care of the farm. And the man said to us, Bob Cowan said I could hunt here, and Bob Cowan was the policeman.
Ah.
So
he
that's
didn't
why I
know
think it
any
might
of
have been
that
a fellow
property.
police officer.
Good thing he
Guy who
missed.
said, it's her father's land.
Oh. So he thought you were a
So
deer.
the Christmas tree lot, was it
Shooting in a
was it adjacent to your dad's land? The piece your dad got over there by
I don't know.
Indian Rock?
I don't know where the lot was.
No, it was down more by River Meadow, wasn't it? The Christmas tree lot?
Was the Christmas tree lot near River Meadow?
No, it was across the street.
Yeah, it was on over by
You go
Indian.
down, the house is here, Perryville Road,
Yeah,
River Meadow is
Oh,
here.
you were right.
This is Home Street.
right.
And
So
we walk across the field, up over the ridge.
in Indian Rock right here.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it was right over that back side.
Oh, Steve, you're too smart.
Well, no, because one time I walked that whole,
they
I was
call
staying
it
at,
oven rock now.
yeah. I stayed at
Oh,
Perryville
yeah.
Inn, and I got up early, and I walked. And I walked like 8 miles. I mean, I was like, because I almost went too far. I was like, and I walked down there.
But when we'd skate in the winter around, wasn't deep, but the big hummocks of grass, and we'd skate. I always fell in. Daddy never did.
Oh, wow.
And then there'd be the brooks and tall cherry trees, I guess. Don't know what kind of trees they were. Daddy would sway the tree and jump across. I'd sway the tree and fall in the water. That's why my mother said, if
You jump.
Dorothy Waite jumped down the well, you jump after her. One time, we climbed up on the, remember the cupola it all on the barn?
Yeah,
We'd go up in the cupola, and one day we shinnied across the peak of the roof toward the house. You know how high it is. And then we had to turn around and get back to the cupola, and it was fun turning around less steep.
Wow,
But we didn't fall off that trip.
that's good.
And we didn't tell anybody.
Till, yes, much later.
So, I've told you now, though.
Yes, now we know.
Got to the bottom of that.
well, when she was growing up, they didn't have everybody with a cell phone taking pictures of
That's true.
everything.
They didn't have
I'm gonna
iPhones
stop and
for
come
sure.
back to
They
this.
didn't have a phone.
I have
don't
3
think.
rows to do. So I'm
I
thinking
don't.
maybe I should clear this off and we can move toward lunch.
Whatever you
Oh,
want.
you're getting hungry?
It's lunchtime?
Did I hear somebody
Well,
say
it's
ice
11.
cream?
Oh,
Not right away,
breaking it out.
There was ice cream.
Linda, what were you working on here?
I'm not working on anything. I'm
But-
just in a game.
I have
Oh, you're playing a game?
Yeah, I'm just
1,
threading the
2,
needles for them.
3 rows to go.
Threading the needle?
And I'm gonna come back to it this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Is that
You
okay?
can't get
Sure.
good help anymore. They just
I
want
wanted
to
to
quit and have
get
lunch.
away your
Yes.
quilters. I want Kathy to see.
Yeah, I'd love that. But I wanna finish this, but I think we need to just move toward lunch,
Boy, oh boy.
okay?
Lunch.
You think I'm getting, is that okay, like that?
Yeah, that's okay like that. What we'll do, Kathy, if they, right over here.
Okay.
Here. Right over here. There. Right over there.
Okay, this is